We got a trade offer. Oh, we got a trade offer. All
right.
Okay, dynasty team. Is this dynasty Superflex? This is not Superflex, right?
No.
Okay. So
what was that?
Saltwater
just
Safari.
popped up? What was that on the screen just now?
It's like a FFPC commercial pop up.
Oh, like an ad?
Yeah, it's like an ad.
All right. Oh.
All right.
They want to give us a round 3 pick for Zay Jones. Is it worth it?
Round 3 picks have no value.
How much value does Zay Jones have? Decent value?
It don't matter. Round 3 picks have no value.
Okay. All right. Decline.
I mean, look, are you sure that that's our Oh, yeah, there it goes. The hard way.
We need to start making some moves, man. I need to start looking at this. I've not peeked at this. It's crazy. You look at your team like 2 months ago, and you're like, man, this looks bad.
Yeah,
and then you look at your team today, and you're like, our team looks pretty good. Let's go back to go back to our team real quick. This is a team we didn't even draft this team. We like inherited this team.
Yeah.
Josh Allen and QB.
We turned it over though.
We saw it there. We almost traded Travis Etienne for 2 first rounds. Jury's still out.
How do you feel about like not taking that pick though? I mean, like not taking the 2 first round picks.
I don't think we actually got an offer for 2 first round. I think we like floated it out there. I don't know because actually it depends on what those 2 first rounds were.
Yeah.
But he may have value this year. I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know if he's the Josh Jacobs this year or if he's like what everybody thinks or is worried that he may be. But Travis Etienne, Josh Doxson.
Go to the trade. Let me see the trade.
Actually, this team is looking pretty damn decent. We got to get rid of Thielen. Damn.
Yeah. All right. So you want to look at the trade? Zay Jones for.
Yeah, reject that. Let's see our bench too. Reject. Come on now. I mean, it's not a terrible offer, but not moving the needle.
All right. So let's look back at our team. It's not a bad team though.
Let me see the who's on the bench.
Bench ain't bad either.
Chua, Zamir White could have been something. Elijah Mitchell. Oh, we got Devin A-Chain, Rodriguez, Nicole Palmer. We got a lot of young talent. Ray Rice, Zay Jones. We got Justin Ross. Hell yeah. Oh, we have to cut down. We got Rashid Shaheed, Tyler Conklin. Okay, Knox can go. We want to cut this roster down. Knox will be able to go. We got to make another decision. That's not a bad squad.
Who would you cut, Dale?
Go to the bid group. Go to the top.
Go
to the bid group. Those are the people I cut.
He's way ahead of this. Of course, he's way ahead. We have to drop how many?
I've done all my waivers on my team, so I was looking at this.
We have to cut down. We have to drop 5 people.
You have to drop 4.
4.
Are we got to drop 4 people?
Why do we have 5 on there then?
Because I was trying to get that defense.
Cut that. Don't let nobody see our waivers.
Yeah. But they won't be able to see the screen.
Okay.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with 2-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, let's jump right in. Listen, all the news talked about JT being on the pup, not being traded, still not getting a contract. But the question that I have for you guys is, who do you think is going to be the starting running back now that we know that JT is going to be out for at least the first 4 weeks of the season, given that he's on a pup right now? Who do you think is going to be the starting running back?
Man, I don't know, and I honestly don't care. I literally just don't care. I don't know. Maybe I'm exhausted. The crazy thing is, I have a lot of fantasy pros teams. Yeah. A lot. Like I didn't count, but I have a lot.
Yeah.
I maybe have like 1 or 2 shares of JT. So like I drafted no JT, and then I hopped into the main. And the very first main I did, I don't know why I decided to alter my draft strategy. It was like let me go ahead and do hero RB. So that very first main team, I drafted a share of JT at the 12th spot.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wish I could do that over
At
again.
112?
at 112.
So you have 2 JT main event teams. Because I thought you were going to talk about the
I actually have 3.
Oh, wow.
I have one with the 12, but I also I
just donated your money.
Right now I have 15 main teams. Actually, so when I go back and look at these main teams, so I have the one at the 12, I got one in the 3rd round, and I got one in the 4th round, and then after that I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And so luckily, like the rest of the team, so that's 3 out of 15. That's not terrible. But those teams, when I look at those teams, they're actually not bad. Like one of those teams, like those teams have James Cook, Alvin Kamara just on the bench. They have Elijah Moore on the bench, Gabe Davis on the bench. So luckily, it was early enough before a lot of those guys were rising up the boards.
Yeah.
So if you drafted JT like early on, I wouldn't like. I honestly, I would don't worry too much about it. I mean, probably draft more.
Yeah.
But as far as like the backup though, I honestly like I don't care. I mean, I think what I will do and what I've been doing is just take a stab at a random guy, Deion Jackson, Hole, Zach Moss. None of these guys, give me like really
move the needle for you.
Yeah, and then if they could bring somebody in like a Kareem Hunt or somebody that we're not even thinking about. So like, you take a stab here or there. I think he's going to be out 4 games. When the news dropped, I mean, you thought about the whole JT thing and whatever, but what my mind went to was actually away from the running game.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the defense is going to be all that good. It's a younger team. My mind went straight to Anthony Richardson and how he was going to have to carry them.
Yeah.
And they've already said that they wanted to throw him in the fire and have him learn on the job. So to me, like that actually raised his floor and his ceiling in my mind, which also raised Michael Pittman and the other receiving options floor because I don't necessarily know that they're going to be able to run effectively, or I don't know that they're going to have a running back that's, that they're going to want to necessarily lean on, or somebody that they're going to want to definitely get the ball over and over at the goal line. So, I mean, I think I just kind of became a little bit more on the side of Anthony Richardson, which is like completely like opposite of what I said before or what I was thinking before, that he really needed JT. I think for his development, it would be very, very good to have him, but maybe for fantasy this year, I think JT or AR sees a little bit of a spike in points, but yeah, the running backs. I mean, I have zero interest, to be quite honest.
Dahlia, like who do you see being week 1 starter on the Colts? Because that week 1 starter is gonna produce fantasy points, right?
Right.
So, like,
I'm actually going after Deion Jackson.
Okay.
Everywhere. Okay. I mean, if you look at the situation, Jonathan Taylor's going to be out 4 weeks. Zach Moss right now has a broken arm. We don't know when he's coming back. Somebody's going to start for that team. Somebody's going to get carries. And even if they're playing like a lot of catch-up or from behind, it's likely that running back is going to get a lot of dump-offs. Yeah. And we literally saw Deion Jackson do that last year. We saw a game where he caught like 1 million catches and had like the running back 1 week off of those catches. He's a veteran in the group. What? The other option is Evan Hole, a rookie, who I like. I think Evan Hole is talented, but he's still a rookie. He doesn't have pass protection down right yet. Yeah. And with the rookie quarterback, you're not going to want to put him out there with a rookie running back that doesn't know what he's doing. So I'm targeting Deion Jackson. And the fact that Deion Jackson is just available everywhere, or like if you're drafting right now, you could probably get him in those double-digit rounds late. He's not really anything that hurts your build. You can build your team the exact same way. Take a stab at Deion Jackson. If he does end up being the main back, you have a starting running back for free. Yeah,
I think you definitely. I wouldn't. They shouldn't go undrafted in like large bench leagues.
Yeah,
I do think Deion Jackson's like the better pass catcher. Hole did some pass catching in college. He's just I don't know. He's just not. I don't know. He's just like he's. My concern is that it's like an RBBC and that like.
I mean, who's in the RBBC though?
Hole, Jackson, and Zach Moss is apparently supposed to be ready by the time the season started. We don't know that.
But we can only go with what we know. Right now, we know he has a broken arm, and he still hasn't practiced to this point right now. So if you're saying it's a RBBC, the committee is 2 guys at the moment. Yeah. With one being a rookie,
They'll bring in a third, though, for sure.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But at this moment right now, they haven't.
Yeah.
And, I mean, any other options, so like look at a Zach Moss and Evan Hole. Both of those options, I think, are options that are going to be more so down the line, like week 3, week 4. And by the time you get to week 4, week 5, JT is likely coming back.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of a waste. I mean, maybe.
What's your thought? What's your general feel? Like, would you draft JT, and where would you draft him if you were to draft him right now?
Probably take JT like the 7th round, 8th round.
Okay, that's kind of like where he's
Because
settling in.
JT,
Yeah.
Again, it really comes down to what you feel about the injury. And I spoke about the injury last week. Remember, I
Yeah.
spoke about people saying the injury was still an issue.
Yeah, I just I just ignored.
Right. So if you think the injury won't be an issue, then you're
Yeah.
literally looking at the same circumstances as Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Or
And that's
maybe a little
exactly
bit
how I
different.
think about it.
Maybe
Like,
a little bit different. So
Yeah.
you can get a running back because remember, yeah, you can start off the season great, but if you don't finish the season on top, it's all worthless. And you can get a player like that can actually put you over the top. Again, if you feel comfortable with this injury status.
Yeah.
But going back to Deion Jackson, so with that same thought process with all those other options not being there week 1, and we always talk about with the FFPC, it's a race. You have to get out the gate as fast as you can and try to get to that finish line. I'm going to take the guy right now is healthy. We've seen him produce. We know he can catch the ball.
Yeah.
So we know he's going to be involved in, a game where they're, running down the clock or
Yeah.
they're having to play catch up.
Yeah.
So that's the guy I'm targeting right there. And he's cheap.
Yeah.
Speaking of cheap, listen, Lenny is still unsigned. It's still available. They don't have a run. Maybe Lenny looked really bad when he tried out for the Patriots. Do you guys see Leonard Fournette being signed, or is he out of the league, man? I mean, it seemed like he would have been signed by now. I mean,
Yeah, I've had zero interest. I don't know how to play that situation. That is a major unknown. I do put a little bit of credence and give a little bit of stock to the Patriots bringing him in and deciding for whatever reason to go with Zeke and paying him and not paying Leonard Fournette. Also, nobody in the Tampa Bay backfield looked good last year, but nobody in the Tampa Bay backfield looked good last year, and that included Lenny. So It's not like he's had a lot of great tape to put out there. But who knows? In a pinch, you haven't really heard of him going in for meets, traveling and speaking with teams. There's really been nothing. You've heard about it from Kareem Hunt, although he hasn't signed. But I haven't really heard of Fournette traveling to any teams or talking with any teams outside of the Patriots. So that definitely gives me a little bit of pause. I would never fault anybody for spending like a 18th, 19th round pick, which is I think where he's going right now.
See, I
on
think
it,
that's the
but-
wrong way to approach it, though.
all right.
I don't think you should draft him at all right now. I just think
Yeah.
you should be conscious that he's out there and strike when you feel like it's the right time to strike, because you obviously weren't going to strike a week early. And even if it's not a week early, if you have to strike once he signs with somebody, that's fine.
Yeah.
You just might have to pay more of that fab. But I think kind of drafting him now or targeting him now is really a fool's errand, because you don't know what that situation is going to be like.
Yeah.
You're going to end up picking him up now, and then if he doesn't sign anywhere within the first 3-4 weeks, you're going to have to drop him. So he literally was just burning a roster spot for you. We're at the point in the season right now where teams are kind of set with what they're going into the season with. Like they're comfortable.
Yep.
And if we're playing a video game right now, we basically took off injuries, then Leonard Fournette is not getting on the team this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to be,
Yeah.
at home all season long. His circumstance right now is either he's waiting for an injury to happen or he's waiting for a team that's just not happy with their running situation, the rushing game situation.
Which will take a couple
and they
games.
Right, exactly. They have to kind of
Yeah.
see that play out.
Yeah.
So for me, if you're even considering Lenny, and I'm not saying don't consider him because he can produce as a running back. He's played in the league.
I have 0 shares, and I drafted a lot of
Right.
teams.
Again, I'm not saying
so
you
it's
should
like-
have them, but if you
Yeah.
want to, because you're always looking for those running back, those diamonds in the roughs.
Yeah.
So if you want to have him, I don't think you should waste time draft him.
Yeah.
And if you want him early, then maybe go after him in that first waiver wire run.
Yeah.
Or wait after week 1 if you really
Dollar
just
bids.
are. Yeah, exactly. Because you can get them with those dollar bids.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my whole thing, like, I think the one reason why I've just kind of avoided those guys is because say they do end up on a team, like, yeah, anything could happen, but I'm just like, even if they do end up on a team, like, are they really going to, like, provide value? Or am I really going to put them in my starting lineup unless I'm just, like, in dire need? So I just tend to have, like, take other dart throws.
Well,
and typically
To
when I'm
answer your
drafting a
question,
pitcher.
you will put him in your lineup because the reason he's probably on a team because there's probably injuries and he's coming in to get that workload, right? So if he does if that does play out that way, he's going to be a player that is going to honestly be maybe even considered a league winner.
I mean, I think it depends on the team that he goes to. Of
course, that's always the case.
So if he's with there being so few teams that just typically have like a lead back, if he's in an RBBC, it's almost like a headache that I don't want to have to deal with. Obviously, he could be on like any other team.
But what
like he
but
could
what
have,
would you consider RBBC, like a 2?
like if the Colts were to sign him right now, I would still have very little interest in like Leonard Fournette.
So what situation would you actually have interest in? Because there's not going to be a team.
There's not a lot. That's what I'm saying.
There's not going to be any team that signs him and says day one you're the guy.
And that's exactly why I've just sort of kind of avoided that situation, because I've like literally thought about this in my mind, like where is he gonna go? Where I'm just gonna be like, oh yeah, that's a great landing spot. I'm gonna feel comfortable about it. It's almost like I don't want to have to deal with that headache of having to like kind of choose, pick, hold the guy, and there's just so many other players that I think you can go after. And yeah, we've been wrong on it. We're gonna talk about handcuffs a little bit later. You're gonna be wrong. I definitely got a lot of teams where I gotta go. I gotta drop a lot of Jelani Woods because I drafted him like very early on in like May.
I mean,
but so there's always gonna be guys that like you're just gonna like take stabs on. You're gonna be completely wrong.
But that's exactly what's happening right now. You're taking a stab on a guy that's a wish pick.
Yeah, but those other guys with wish pick, like the wish pick with Jelani Woods, even as like wishful thinking as it was just like, okay, he could be the Dallas Goedert in this offense. Like he could be like the second or third leading in targets. He could like advance, like, and he's like a young athletic guy. So it's like you're seeing him like on this, rising trajectory. That was like sort of kind of the thought process with him. And that's the thought process with a lot of guys that I draft that low.
Right.
Even though I understand that the likelihood of them panning out is extremely low, their trajectory is going upward. I feel like drafting like a guy like Fournette, his trajectory is going downward.
But at the end of the day, all of these things you're saying, you're betting on potential. And if potential doesn't play out, then they all have the same value, which is nothing.
And right? That's what I'm saying. So I feel like,
but if Fournette does get that job or get a role, he has value compared to those other guys that you were taking stabs at with your lottery pick. They have no value. So all these guys in a certain situation can be useful. Literally every single one. You just have to hope the guy that you pick ends up being that useful type player.
I guess so we've kind of jumped into upside for me though. It's like upside. So like the potential for like a Fournette upside versus potential for these other guys upside, at least for me, is very different.
Right.
So Fournette can have value. You can have value for your team, but his value for like the teams that I want him on, to me, like, is just not enough. Like I don't like. Yeah, he could have value for like 10, 12 points, maybe get you 15, 17, falls in the end zone, kind of here or there. I don't know. I just feel like the upside there for me is. But I mean, again, like I said, I could be completely wrong.
Yeah. So last year we had this conversation, and Dario, I think you said that, hey, like when it comes to handcuffs, they all have the same value until they get put into that situation that makes them useful. With the way that running backs are being treated right now, is the idea of the handcuff dead? Because we're kind of touching on this topic right now. Let's just talk about it. Is the idea of having a handcuff dead with so many, I guess, decent running backs still unavailable?
See, so for me, and I've been like this for a couple of years now, I don't really draft handcuffs. Like, I don't look at a player and say I'm drafting a handcuff where this is a guy I'm using or I'm taking now because I'm hoping the guy in front of him gets hurt or is regulated to a backup or anything like that. I actually am drafting these running backs because I feel like the way their circumstances now has value. For instance, like a Tyjae Spears. I feel like he might be the lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. And he's going to be useful. I mean, he's not going to give me high-end points day one. I mean, I hope he does. But I don't expect it. I just, whatever he's going to give me, I think is good enough for where I'm taking him. But the caveat or the bonus is if Henry does go down, then he explodes for me. So those are the type of players I'm looking at. I'm not looking at players where it's like a Jerome Ford. I don't want a Jerome Ford. Because I don't feel like if Chubb is healthy and that offense is rolling the way they run a roll, I don't feel like he's going to give me any value. Now if Chubb goes down, Ford is a league winner almost. So I see that, and I'm risking missing out on that. But if I can't play him any week, because there's going to be circumstances where I have these guys, I just need to play them. And if the time I need to play them and the time where they're useful don't coincide at the same time, then it was a waste of pick for me. So that's how I kind of see
I gotta give Dale credit for like that philosophy, that approach, because I've adopted that this year, and I gotta say it's paid off tremendously. Like especially early on. So I kind of pose this question like, is the idea of like the handcuff dead? And it's like on Lifeline. I think there are very few. I think number one, and this has been historically when we go back and look at it, we are wrong so often. Not only are we wrong so often, the situation changes so often. I think even a situation like in the San Francisco backfield, I would not bet any significant amount of money that Elijah Mitchell is the true handcuff to Christian McCaffrey, or that if Christian McCaffrey goes down, that he would be even leading that team in carries or touches. Not based off of what I've heard in the offseason, definitely not based off of his history. You can go team by team. There are very true actual handcuffs. You mentioned Tyjae Spears. I've been drafting a lot of Tyjae Spears for that same exact reason, because I felt like there were a couple of outs, especially early on in the offseason. Derrick Henry getting traded, Derrick Henry going down, him filling that, who was there last year that, kind of filled that third down role.
Yeah, like Dontrell Hilliard.
Filling that Dontrell Hilliard role. So I love that. You could even argue like a Kendre Miller, just a talent alone that may sort of kind of act. But then like all these other handcuffs, like I just have ignored them. And because of that, because I've just ignored all these handcuffs, I have almost close to 40% share of Marvin Mims. I have so much Van Jefferson. And we'll see what happens with some of these guys. But I have so many of these players that could actually have significant value.
Real quick to interject,
that don't need an injury.
Continue, but going on that Marvin Mims, that's the same exact thing, only it's with the receiver. Like when we were drafting Marvin Mims, even we expected him to be like wide receiver 4 for the Broncos. But we just still felt like his role would have value. Now, up to this point, they lost Judy, they lost Tim Patrick. Now he's a wide receiver 2. So now he even has way more value. That's that bonus that I'm talking about. So those are the type of players I'm always targeting. And they're always falling because I think people are stuck on looking for handcuffs. Because they're hoping, I don't want to say hope because you don't really want to hope somebody get hurt, but they're kind of hoping the guy in front of them gets hurt, and I don't want to have to do that.
And there's just so much talent in this range that you could have hit off. And probably only 5% of these guys are going to hit, but I want more of that than I want more of just like a Devin Singletary. Because I'm telling you right now, if the lead guy goes down in whatever offense, you have to really ask yourself, is the team really just going to go to the backup and give him his exact workload? Or if there's not going to be an RBBC, or are they not going to bring somebody else in? Even someone like a Ty Chandler. We saw what happened today with Myles Gaskin coming in. Even someone with the Ty Chandler, and a lot of people were doing the Dwayne McBride. And if you were grabbing these guys late, I'm not faulting, but if you were reaching up in the 13th, 14th round and passing on Marvin Mims or passing on some of these guys, that may prove to not be elite. Musgrave was going there. Juwan Johnson was going there. Higbee was going that late, at times. All of these, even Kincaid, a lot of these tight ends were going there at the, during, early in the offseason because all these handcuffs were being pushed up, and we're finding out, whether it's through attrition, whether it's just through getting more information, guys being added to teams, we're finding out that these handcuffs really aren't handcuffs, and these situations are becoming a lot more muddier. You can't prove to me with 100% doubt that Jerome Ford is the actual true handcuff to Nick Chubb, or that he's going to see even 80% of what Nick Chubb is going to see. You can't prove that with 100%, with any significant certainty that Ty Chandler. You can believe in Ty Chandler, but you really don't know. And even if Alexander Madison does go down, Leonard Fournette on speed dial. Kareem Hunt on speed dial.
So let me throw a couple names out there and tell me if you believe that, not necessarily a handcuff, but if you think that they have standalone value or not. Tyler Algier.
So actually, before we go on this little game, I was actually going to speak about him.
All right, go ahead.
Because, so the term we have for what we're talking about is handcuff running backs. I feel like we need to have a separate term for what we're referring to now.
Coin it.
I don't have that imagination. I'm not creative like that. All I can think is the B, committee B back or something like that. Something, we got to workshop that. We got to workshop that.
Value running back.
I want to be a part of the committee, a committee back. But not the main, the secondary guy.
Listeners.
Give me something. Give me something. And I'm going to take credit for it, but give it to me.
Add us on Twitter at 2_Deo.
So if you look at it like that and then you actually rank them, the ranking for that is going to be different than a handcuff ranking. Okay? And if I look at the top back for what I'm referring to me, that's Algier. Because he has standalone value because that team still wants to use him as a running back. Everybody loves Bijan. Everybody's excited about Bijan. They think Bijan's going to break fantasy. But that team is telling us they love Algier and they're going to use Algier. Right? So go ahead.
Sorry. And it's also the thought that, Bijan is a rookie. He's fresh legs, even though he doesn't. But he's a rookie. He's young. He can't get hurt.
Right.
And that's what I wrote this early on again in my note. I keep going back to those notes that I wrote in February. And I'm like, man, do not allow people to put into your minds that because a player is young, he can't get injured, or because a player is older, that he's for sure going to get injured.
True.
Because we saw it with Javonte, we saw it with Breece Hall, we're seeing it with Jerry Jeudy. Like, all these young guys are going down. Even Chris Olave is the one, or not Chris Olave, so Jalen Waddle is the one, who was the injured wide receiver in training camp. So anybody at any given moment can go down. So I think Bijan has this thought, or this, like, we have this idea of Bijan, like, he's indestructible, like he can't get hurt.
Right.
So I think that's why, like, Tyler Algier is not being able to go.
So real quick, let me land this plane real quick. So again, if we were to rank him, again, the committee be back. That's what I'm gonna go with right now.
Committee be back.
I like that.
So if we're ranking him, I would have him number 1 because, again, he has that standalone value. But then on top of that, if Bijan does get hurt, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at a league winner.
League winner.
The guy that rushed for 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah.
Those are the type of running backs I try to target easily. So anyway, you want to play your game?
All right.
If you're going to start with Algier, whatever you're going to say, yes.
Yes. All right. All right. And let's go with Roshan.
Yes.
Standalone value.
So early in the summer, I would have said yes easily. But maybe I'll still say yes. He's lower in the rankings.
Yeah, he's lower in the rankings.
Because I haven't seen him take over that job the way I was hoping.
That's true.
Like, I haven't seen him go in a lot of third downs and the passing work, but I haven't seen him get those early carries mixed in with the first group the way I was hoping by now. And it could still happen. I mean, I'm not scared of Foreman. Herbert has some warts that the team even brings up themselves. And everybody talks about how much they love Roshan.
Yeah.
It's just that it might be a thing you have to kind of be patient with a little bit. And you probably said that with a lot of rookie running backs, honestly.
And I didn't realize he was a former quarterback, so.
Yeah.
Oh, me either.
Yeah.
In high school.
Yeah, all right. So what about Jaylen Warren? Because Jaylen Warren, to me,
He's up
is
there,
right
too.
on that. He's right on that line, though, to where I don't know if he's going to be able to get the same type of load that Najee gets if Najee went down.
But I think he'll be able to get enough. Like, and
I
he's
think they think he can get that load, too.
Yeah.
I think
maybe.
But
that's the thing, too, is like, because if Najee is just down for like a couple of games, they're like, okay, you can get the load for a couple of games. If Najee goes down week 2, I think they're definitely bringing somebody back.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing somebody in.
Who is their running back 3 for the Steelers right now? Do we know Anthony McFarland, maybe?
Is McFarland still here?
I think he's still there.
Yeah.
I think he's still there. But the Jaylen Warren saga, or the career arc, I guess you will, it's reminding me so much
Don't say it.
of Austin Eckler, dog.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
It's reminding me so much Eckler because remember, Eckler was Melvin Gordon's backup.
Yeah.
Remember?
I can see that. I thought he
A
was
shorter,
gonna go
smaller guy. They thought he wasn't big enough to take a full workload, but he still had good size. He could catch the ball. He was productive every time they used him. But Melvin Gordon was just there.
Or Tony Pollard. That's what I thought you were going.
No, I wasn't going to Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Different type of style.
Yeah.
I think Warren and Eckler might have a similar style. Maybe not as much of a receiving game. I don't know. We haven't seen Jaylen Warren used in the receiving game much.
They got so many receiving options.
Yeah. But just that whole setup,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I see Warren.
Yeah. Jaylen Warren, I can say I do not think that he's over. I do not think that he is overtaking Najee Harris. Like, I don't think is happening. I don't care how much more efficient he is, but I do definitely think he's like eating into the carries. But I think it's just gonna be very much like it was last year. Like, I don't think it's necessarily like I don't think it's like, all of a sudden it's like, gonna be a hot hand approach, or it's gonna be like 50-50. I just think it's gonna be just like it was last year.
I think he's who you thought Tony Pollard was last year. That, like, he looks good when he comes in for a run play here, a run play there. But if he had to get the load, he can't carry the load.
I don't know, man. I think he can. I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
You said who I thought Tony Pollard. Did Tony Pollard get hurt last year?
Yeah, but it was also
Did he
Tony
get hurt?
Pollard. It was also
Did he get hurt?
top 2 running back Tony
Okay.
Pollard.
I mean,
but
by
also
attrition.
Zeke got hurt too. So
Yeah, that's
he
true.
was banged up.
You
But
got
can I get
another
one
guy?
more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one more. Samaje Perine.
Oh no, I think he may be at the top of the list because you have no clue what Javonte Williams is going to look like, and if he's the only back, I mean, shout out to my boy McLaughlin though. My man made the squad. He made the squad.
He made the squad.
But yeah, because you have no idea how Javonte is going to look, or if he's going to have a compensatory injury, or if he's going to have a re-injury. So, like, to me, like, he's near the top of the list too.
See,
as well.
but here's the thing: that whole question really, you should be looking at Samaje as the committee A guy right now.
Maybe.
You
maybe.
kind of have to until it switches.
Yeah.
Because they're not ready to give Javonte that full workload right now.
Yeah.
So really, Javonte is the committee B back, and he's a good option.
That's a hot take right there.
You know?
That's a soundbite.
At the moment. At the moment.
Yeah, that's
and
a take.
Committee B
everybody
back.
drafting Javonte over P. Ryan, but would anybody be surprised if week 1 the Broncos come out first snap and P. Ryan's in the backfield and Javonte's on the sideline?
Yeah. And that's like, I mean, and that's why, like, if you drafted, JT, wherever you drafted him this year, there's so many guys like that that are later, like, that are going later on that you could just easily fill into those, like, to that slot. Samaje is a perfect one where you can just, like, slot him in the first couple of weeks. Dalvin Cook has been falling to the 8th, 9th round at time. You could easily slot him in.
You know who is going late, and I still don't get it, but he's still been going late?
Who?
Well, I guess a lot of them. I mean, a group of them. The Dolphins running backs.
Oh, yeah, they go
They're
real
still
late.
Nobody knows
going
how
late.
to evaluate.
It doesn't matter if you don't know. The fact that they're all going late, you just take a stab on one of them.
And those historically are the backfields that everyone, like every analytic, guy or analysis will tell you, or analyst will advise you.
Analyst.
Analyst.
Yeah.
Analyst.
Analyst, yeah.
Analytical analyst, whatever you want to call it.
Analytical
the
analyst.
analytical guys. But those are the
Analyze
guys
analytics.
that, like, they advise you to go after those backfields, like the ambiguous backfields. Like, that is where you want to target.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem.
because it's
And
where the value is.
Yeah.
I don't know if our guest last week, Dave, was saying it. I think he was alluding to it a little bit. But once people get into these draft seasons early, they start to have their, I don't want to say it's a take lock, but they start to create
Hard
their
on their
evaluations
positions,
of
yeah.
these guys.
Yeah.
And then it sticks.
Yep.
And they can't, like, adjust it, right? So this whole summer, we've been like, the Dolphins going to bring somebody in.
Yeah.
They're going to probably sign
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook. They're going to probably trade for a ride. They're going to sign Leonard Fournette or something.
Yeah.
Who was recently out there? Oh, JT.
Yeah.
JT is going to be traded to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So everybody just waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah.
So they price these running backs as if the shoe has dropped.
Yeah.
And none of the shoes drop. And I don't know if we're still waiting. I guess it's still possible something can happen. Kareem Hunt can sign there. Leonard Fournette can sign there.
Yeah.
But nobody's reevaluating that whole situation where they're like, okay, nobody else is there. They're going to run the ball. They look like they have a potent offense. Why are we taking – because, look, Mostert's going, what, 13th round? No, 14th round here. Jeff Wilson's going, what?
Probably later than that.
Probably around the same – I don't even see Jeff Wilson on here.
He's going around the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff Wilson, 12th round. You know?
There you
And
go.
A-Chain, the guy that's hurt,
It's going away.
is going like 10th round right
Yeah.
there, right? So it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, do we just not think the Dolphins are going to run the ball?
Yeah.
Or are we scared? I don't know. That just
And they
it don't
actually
make
do
sense
want to run
me.
the ball.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, even if
They
it's not
want to
effective,
run the ball.
even if it's not effective, they want
Right.
to and they need to run the ball based on their system.
Question, Chris. What are your thoughts on Algier? I know you were high on him at one point.
I'm really high on him. I've never been a big Bijan guy. Like, I don't want to rehash
like the
this.
Longhorns?
No, like, I mean, like, Texas is all right. I mean, like,
They're all right?
I don't know
He a
Texas.
Longhorn
Like, they're all
hater.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I just don't see this generational back, like, talent that everybody else sees. I just
In
don't
Bijan?
see it. Yeah, I don't see it.
Oh man,
I don't see it. Like,
now
I
you're
think
being
he's gonna
disrespectful.
be. No, I think he's gonna be good, but
Bruh, you have not seen enough tape.
no, like what I'm saying is, we said the same thing about Saquon, right? And Saquon gave us some great years, but like when I say generational back, I mean like a LaDainian Tomlinson. Like that's a generational back, or like that's a guy who can put a team on his back, and I just don't see that with Bijan.
He may be better than LT. And I'm not even like
I have
joking.
to see it.
I
I have
think.
to see it.
I think. So if we're comparing Saquon and LT, I think really the biggest difference is just the era. Because back in the LT era, you had true workhorse running backs.
Yeah.
Like LT was not the only workhorse running back at that time. You had like your Ray Rice. You know, you had Adrian Peterson. You had running backs that had the backfield to
Adrian
themselves.
Peterson
Priest
is a
Holmes,
generational back.
Larry Johnson.
That's a generational back.
No, I feel you on that. I feel you on
Yeah.
that. Adrian Peterson, I think, was the first high school player on Texas Football Magazine. Like usually it was always college players. I think he was the very first one. AP when he was in high school wanted to go straight to the pros.
I mean,
And he could have gone to the pros. That man, he was a
really
man.
could. I remember hearing it because I think we were in high school there. I remember hearing like, man, this dude's crazy.
Yeah.
But then when I saw him, I was like, yeah, we wasted that time in Oklahoma. They owe that man some checks. But yeah, going back to Algier, so you're just not high on Bijan. That's your.
I'm just not high on Bijan,
Okay.
and so I think that Algier is going to get a larger percentage of those carries than the general fantasy community thinks that they're going to get. But let's stay on these committee backfields for a second. You talked about Elijah Mitchell. I also want to talk about someone else who is a when I said Elijah Mitchell, I was really talking about Christian McCaffrey, but a type of running back that has the same or similar skill set, Jerick McKinnon. Like, no one has been talking about him. Again, he's getting a little long in the tooth now, especially for a running back. Like, how do you guys see him in that backfield where no one has really separated themselves, and he's still, I think, the best pass-catching back in a team that wants to throw the ball?
So I'm gonna give you two answers here. So one, I don't have a lot of Jerick McKinnon, but I don't mind drafting Jerick McKinnon on certain teams. To me, he's like a break glass player because he's in an potent offense. He's a pass catching back, and we saw it last year. Like, he can fall into the end zone at any given moment. He can catch 5 to 6 passes at any given moment. He can take it to the house at any given moment. He's still pretty explosive just because throughout his career he's been like injured for the most part, so he doesn't have like a lot of mileage. That being said, I do like feel like this is turning into like, at the very least, a 2-headed RBBC, if not a 3-headed RBBC. They kept CEH. Obviously, they have Isaiah Pacheco. I think that
You thought they were going to cut CEH?
No, not necessarily. But they still. I'm just saying, just kind of making it a point that he's still there, and he's, even though Pacheco was injured, he's that last final preseason game where they all kind of played, like they all shared time. But I think you're gonna be hard pressed to like be able to have him in your lineup and feel comfortable starting them week to week. And then if Pacheco goes down, like, it's probably just more CEH. I don't necessarily know that it's more McKinnon. The other thing about McKinnon too is I think and I've kind of heard this more speculation, is that they may just want to preserve him for the playoff run,
right?
Like, because he kind of has a very unique skill set that is very different than the other players. So I think if Pacheco or CEH goes down, then they just call up Michael P. Ryan from the practice squad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see it slightly different because I think McKinnon is actually a good value. I think he should be targeted. I like him a lot because a few reasons. Number one, every time I see the Chiefs doing any kind of practices, those highlights on Twitter, or even when I've seen them in preseason games, when they're passing the ball, when Mahomes is in shotgun, McKinnon is the back.
Yeah,
he's always the back. And this is with the first team players, so it's not like he's coming in as like a second team or third string running back. He's more so coming in as the passing down back. For a team that we know that likes to throw the ball, even at the goal line. Like, Abby, you said it yourself. When they're at the goal line, they're not trying to.
So I kept trying to tell everybody last year. I was like, whoever running back is, like, don't lean on them.
No, the middle. They're gonna throw. They're gonna be on the half-yard line and still throw the ball.
Mahomes is like Aaron Rodgers. They want their touchdown.
When I saw Pacheco though, I was like, this is exactly what they need. A guy who will run through a closed door. So this is exactly what they need.
So to elaborate on my point, you brought up Pacheco. Pacheco's not a passing down back. Like, that's just not his skill set. I can't even think of a time where I've seen him throw the ball to him.
Me either.
Just straight up, just sitting here thinking about it. I can't think of so we know they're not looking him like that. So it's not that target share of receptions for the running back. He's not taking any of it. The only other option is CH, who is there. But we've seen CH. This is his 4th year. We know CH now. Like, we know him. And then the only other concerns before yesterday was P. Ryan and Prince. And I was just looking at this draft right here. Prince was drafted in the 14th round.
Prince is gone. And that's what we're talking about. Like,
P. Ryan is gone too.
P. Ryan's got, but at least P. Ryan's on a practice squad.
Both of them are.
Oh, both of them are on the practice squad?
Both of them are.
Okay, smart.
But that's what I'm saying. They have so the Chiefs right now are running with 3. And I have something else I want to say about the Chiefs too, now that we're talking about it. But the Chiefs right now are running with 3 backs. One back we know is not a pass catcher. One back has been met his whole career, and the only reason I think he's on the roster is because they drafted him in the first round. They go, it's a sunken cost type situation.
We don't want to look like the 49ers.
Right, and then you have McKinnon, who we've seen them utilize a lot. They trust him. They know what they got out of him. So I think McKinnon is a type of player where if you're going like zero running back, he's just looking for a guy later. Say you messed up the draft, and these running backs are just like you're just missing out on. I feel like you could take McKinnon and still be okay.
I agree. He's like, if you were somebody who like was okay drafting the J.D. McKissics, the Nyheim Hines, the James White of the world.
He's way better than all of those.
He falls right into that category.
But he's better than all those.
But he still has the same exact role. He's definitely in a more potent offense, but he's in the same exact role. As
I guess the reason I say he's better than that because again he isn't in a potent offense. But number two, we've seen him have stretches. Like we haven't seen these one-offs.
Yeah,
we've seen. I think last year he had like a 5 or 4 game stretch of just going crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so and again they're still using him a lot. But anyway, the other point I was gonna make, and what were we talking about before that? Before I distract. Okay, so the other point I was gonna make, these receivers for the Chiefs. Okay, Abby was on it for a minute. Scott Barrett came on the show. He was on it hard. Scott Barrett is still on it. Right. Me and Chris kind of had to be swayed a little bit. I don't even know if Chris is there yet, but me, I had to be swayed on Justin Ross, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm not.
We picked him up on the dynasty team. We've been on this since day one.
Yeah, they were talking about us in the group chat too when we picked him. They were like, they don't think he's gonna make the team. We took anyway.
All right.
But to further my point, so we've been excited about him. We've been drafting him or trying to get him.
Yeah.
But if you look at that team, they have MVS, they have Sky, they have Tony, they have Rice, they have Justin Watson, who nobody talks about, who might damn near start. Did I say Rice already? Richie James. Justin Ross. They have 7 wide receivers. Yeah. That is not common.
No.
If you look around the league, teams do not have 7 wide receivers. And I was reading something the other day. They were saying the last 2 seasons, the Chiefs have gone into the season with only 5 wide receivers. So this is like the first year where they actually have went not only 6, but 7 wide receivers. And then on top of that, I saw a quote recently by, I don't know if it was a GM that said it, a coach that said it, somebody over there in Kansas City said it.
The GM. I already know where you're going.
They said
GM
to start off the season,
we got you.
With Rice and Ross, they're going to be package players.
Yeah.
They're going to come in for certain packages, and then hopefully as the season progresses, they can become every down players.
Yeah.
So I look at this whole situation in totality. I'm like, I mean, we're all excited. Everybody has their biases for one of these Chiefs receivers or targets. What if none of them hit value? Like, what if they all like cannibalizing each other?
You mean like last year?
I mean, were they last year?
Yeah, last year.
Essentially, that's what
like everybody was like, you had the
last year we weren't excited about the Chiefs like that.
Yeah. Well, there were people who were excited about Juju.
They were tripping. It's Juju. Come on, man. It's Juju, man.
We always held
the guy on TikTok, man. Nobody's really excited about the TikTok guy. But this year they're taking Tony High. But this year they're excited about Sky. Man. They're excited about Rice. We're excited about these guys.
Yeah.
And we might. I don't know. Week 6, we might be like, damn.
I feel like I've eliminated a number by, and I know this is like something that you probably shouldn't do. Okay, it's a losing proposition. But Rice, I've eliminated. Okay, I've seen enough of Rice. I was not on him to begin with.
You seen enough.
It's not even the open, the wide open, just like drop.
It's multiple wide open drops.
Oh, Rice has been dropping passes?
Yeah.
But really? It's not even that. I just feel like, it's going to take him a little bit of time. I feel like it'll take him a little bit of time. MVS is MVS. Okay, he's a deep threat.
We know
he's there if you need it. Okay. Watson, we know what Watson is. Like I said, he's dependable. When you have a superstar quarterback, they can get by with the Watson. If Watson is the guy that does he's where he's supposed to be, then they can get by with him. As much as I was on Sky Moore, man, Sky Moore just he's Sky Moore. Like he's Sky Moore.
He's a can't get right guy. Right?
Yeah, I don't think he can't get right. He's just not that exciting.
Why do you think he can't get right?
Because he has the talent, but it just never comes together.
I don't think he has the talent.
I don't think he's going into his second year.
I know, but at this point, he played a whole season with it. I mean, in this offense that had a full season all the way to the Super Bowl. He should be coming back, and he should be the man there.
But isn't he the man?
He's getting talked about right now.
Yeah, but he's not. I haven't seen him look great. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like he doesn't pop off at the screen. He doesn't he's okay. He's okay. But Richie James to me is like a slot receiver. Like he's a slot receiver. So to me, Richie James is behind Sky Moore. Okay, so the best player on this team, the best wide receiver on this team to me is Justin Ross. Whether or not we see this
and he's at the bottom of the depth chart right now.
Whether or not we see anything this year, but to me, he is that guy that I feel like I can hold on throughout the year.
You're not going to hold on to Justin Ross all year.
I will.
Yeah, that's
I
really
will.
what this whole conversation boils down to.
I really will.
Are you willing to hold on to these players?
Absolutely.
Or are you?
You said players. I said there's one player that I will hold on to.
That's because you're on Justin Ross. But I know there's certain people that are high on Rashid Rice.
Then you
I know
should.
there's certain people that are high on Kadarius Toney.
See, Tony and Sky Moore are different. Like, where you're drafting those guys because of the potential role, like, you just hold on. Unless you just see Kadarius Toney just completely fall off the map. He's inactive for multiple games, even while healthy. Like, you're not really dropping those guys. I'm talking about the Rashid Rice. I'm talking about the Richie James.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's drafting Watson. I'm talking about the MVS. Those are more who I'm talking about.
What's interesting about everything that I'm saying right now is all those players that I said are getting drafted except for Justin Watson.
Yep.
All those, like, what other team can you look at where you're drafting literally all the receivers on their team? We're drafting all 6 of those guys right now.
Just hoping to guess.
Hoping. Which means there's going to be a lot of disappointed owners as the season progresses.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the whole Miami running back situation. Is that a offense, or is that a receiver room that you should target, or should you just stay away?
Who, the Miami?
No. The Kansas City receiver.
Okay, I got you.
Like, should you treat it like some people treat the Miami?
Well, some of those guys are going so late. Justin Ross goes so late that, like, it's just, it's a dart throw. At that point, like, you're taking a bunch of other dart throws. Yeah. Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, obviously, you have to spend a little bit more draft capital. If we start seeing JT fall into the 8th round and you're trying to decide between JT and Sky Moore, I don't know about y'all, but I'll take my chances with JT not playing the entire year. I'm clicking the button on JT. Over Sky Moore, who's going in the 8th round. So, I think it just kind of depends on, like, who you're on, where you're taking them. I've liked the fact that Kadarius has been out throughout the offseason because that dropped his ADP.
They said he might still play week 1 though.
Exactly. So I love that it's dropped his ADP because I've been able to acquire a number of shares, and I've done it a couple times. It's probably maybe a little bit harder to do now. Maybe not. Where a team on a certain build, I'll go ahead and get Sky and Kadarius, like back-to-back rounds.
If you had to choose one, who are you taking? If you knew Toney was playing week 1.
I would just, it's tough. Problem with Kadarius is he's Kadarius. Like, you seen the pictures. You seen the
pictures.
You seen the videos.
That is cold.
The aesthetics don't look right.
Well, not even that, but the aesthetics match, like, the behavior. You saw, you heard about everything that was with the Giants. So, like, you got to ask yourself, like, this is not a very simple offense to pick up. This is why rookie wide receivers typically don't do anything. That Tyreek Hill included. Mm-hmm. So, like, is Kadarius Toney, like, really, like, does he really have a good understanding of the playbook? And these things I don't know. I'm still taking a chance because, he looks like a video game character.
So
out
for
there.
you, it's Toney.
For me, it's Toney. Just because.
Yeah, it's Toney.
And I may be wrong.
For you too, Chris?
Yeah, it's Toney.
But not enough so where I'm fading Sky Moore. Like, I probably, like, I go back at, like, I try to, make sure I have a good amount of shares of both.
All right, so let's talk about defenses for a second. So I told myself that I was going to start playing more DFS this season than I've ever played. Like,
I'll let Dorsey.
Right. So I've kind of pulled back on season long. I'm going to invest more in the DFS. And I think playing more DFS, like, you need to really have a spreadsheet on these defenses because you need to target, like, some of these position groups that are clearly weak. Like, that's my strategy going into the season. But it seems like in season long, the vast majority of people just punt defense to, rounds, 19, 20. How do you guys think about defenses when you're drafting your teams for long season
This year's
success?
been going a little higher, I think. I've been seeing people take defense start like week 4. Round
We had
14,
an
15.
argument about kicker and defense. Remember Justin Tucker and then drafting a defense I think we've been, targeting. But, like, how generally do you, like, attack defense?
Man, I have, like, 2 to 3 defenses that are, like, on 95% of my teams. Mm-hmm. So I have the defenses that I want, and then if I don't get them, then I just wait.
Yeah.
But I have those defenses that I'm targeting, and typically it's based on schedule.
Yep.
So I like to try and, get a defense. And again, we're just kind of guessing at this stage. But, if I see a defense that's going to be playing multiple rookie quarterbacks, or playing a team that has a fairly bad O-line, like, I'm going to target that because they're going to.
Or the worst division in football.
Or the worst division in football. Y'all can see where we're going with this,
Right.
or at least where I'm going with this. So I have tons of that defense.
Yeah.
And then I try to, and to me, there's only one, maybe two. You can maybe talk, actually maybe 3 defenses that you could talk yourself into like being potentially that New England type defense from a few years back, where it's like a true difference maker.
And I feel like forever ago.
It feels like so.
Golly.
Yeah, so I never like to just say, I'm just going to wait, because you just never know. And like with what Philly has done with their personnel, they all think has brought up the fact that they have a different defensive coordinator. But what they have done with their personnel, like
not only do they have a different defense coordinator, but they lost their defensive consultant in Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
So they lost Gannon and Fangio.
Yeah. So potential negatives, but that personnel is very, very stacked.
Yeah, they have talent. Yeah, they have talent.
So like it's one of those things where like they could just like show out, and if the offense does what the offense does, and they're in positive game scripts, it could be nasty, and that could just be a defense that could just like just.
But didn't they lose C.J. Gardner? They lost Gardner, right?
They lost. Yeah,
they lost some pieces.
To an injury.
Their linebackers are all gone too, right? Because I think this year they're starting to Kobe Dean and Zach Cunningham, maybe.
Yeah.
And they tried to bring in Miles Jack, but Miles Jack retired.
Yeah, retired.
They might have some issues that nobody's talking about.
But even going back to 2022, New England was still scored the most fantasy points in all of FFPC. So
that's because that's
it's those touchdowns. Look at the touchdowns.
Yeah. That's a Belichick.
They scored
defense.
8 touchdowns.
Yeah, about 21 points too. Like for a defense, like that's.
I mean, 8 touchdowns is a lot. That's
a lot.
6 points per touchdown.
That's a lot.
18 interceptions too.
And that's what you're trying to hit on. You're trying to hit. So like New England's like a defense. Like if I'm waiting and I just miss out, like I'll just target New England defense. Or I'll target the Jets defense too. Defenses just have a potential, like maybe elite corners that could just score, but touchdowns are kind of fluky. It's really a hard guess. I also just don't want to I don't want to have to sit here and stream defenses. So if I can get like 3 or 4 weeks out of a defense without having to stream, as I kind of can work and dedicate my mind to other aspects of the waiver, I just prefer doing that.
Being lazy, man.
But take a look at this though. Like the teams that scored the most touchdowns, or the defenses that scored the most touchdowns in 2022 were the same top 2 defenses in 2021.
Dallas is one of those 3.
Yeah.
So for me,
and Dallas added Gilmore. Dallas added talent. So
So for me, Gilmore might be over the hill, but for me,
didn't look like it last year though.
Yeah. I don't know.
He did not look like it last year.
Ain't wasn't nobody worried about not being able to pass against the Colts last year.
Yeah.
They didn't go to Gilmore, and if they did, they found out.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Go back and look at the film.
I think you're looking at the ghost of Gilmore from the Bills days. But for me, so I approach it different ways. And I was the one that said we need to talk about defense. And we need to go way more in depth. By the way,
Let's go.
I'm not going to let you off the hook.
We got time.
First of all, so for me, my approach right now is there's and I haven't counted out, so I guess I should count out now. But defenses like Dallas, I would take probably like the 15, 16 round. Defense like Philly, I'm still okay with Philly.
Yeah.
San Francisco, I'm still okay with. And that's where it stops for me.
So the 15th round is as early as you.
I mean, I'm a value drafter, so I look at where they're being drafted.
Yeah.
And if I feel like I'm getting value, I'll take them. But if I was just in a vacuum targeting wise, I would target those 3 defenses. After that, and a lot of times I don't get those guys because people are taking those guys higher than what I'm comfortable taking them. After that, I then start looking at the defense that have early matchups that I like. So you're looking at like your Baltimore, your New Orleans, your Commanders.
Commanders are a great one.
Yeah, teams like that.
Commanders?
I'm targeting.
Because they go late. Like so, if you miss
Commanders
out on
are
everybody
playing
else,
against the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
So
you should have it planned out. Look at to see who the Cardinals are playing.
The Jaguars even a consideration because they're playing against AR.
Yep.
So I would consider them. And I actually am okay with them because the way, and I approach defense like this every single year. I try to get those defenses that just start off nice just so I can get through those first couple weeks. But what I'm really doing, more so than any other position, I'm not looking at running backs this hard, and I'm looking at receivers. I'm focusing on the defense because I truly feel like if you can find that ideal defense early, you can ride them out. But every year I think the defense has changed.
Yeah, they do.
Every single year.
Yeah.
And people go into the season thinking it's going to be the same defense as last year, but a lot of times that's not the case.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of ambiguity early part of the season. So by week 4, I'm like trying to find that defense that I can rock out with, you know, and that was like Dallas last year. Dallas ended up being that type of defense.
And by doing that too, it helps you out on the other end of things, because if you're like studying the defenses and you're really kind of paying attention, you're like, damn, the secondary is cold, but man, they can't stop the run. That helps you out with that helps you out with sit decisions. So I use that all the time.
Yep.
And again, a lot of times the data lags behind that. So a lot of times you got to be looking at that. And you talked about DFS, like. You got to also like know who's like the defensive tackle. Is he like a true run stopper? And if that defensive tackle goes down, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to start this running back against them." Come to find out that like that week, that running back goes off because they're missing their star defensive tackle. I can't recall who it was, but that's literally what won me my first championship. I remember I had Kenyon Drake, and he had one of the toughest defensive matchups, and one of their defensive tackles went down, and I had like a beast of the team, and I remember talking with him. I was like, man, I think Kenyon Drake's gonna go off this week because they like, you know, they're hurting on the defensive end, even though they were like ranked in like the top 4 or 5. And I put him in, and with the idea of like I'm gonna be one of the few people that are actually going to start Kenyon Drake, you know, in the tournament, and the dude just absolutely went off. You know, that's obviously like an extreme example, but you know, talking about like really looking at defenses and trying to like really understand it, like it is something like, you know, you really gotta pay better attention to.
Yeah, and don't be lazy like Abby was saying earlier. Don't do that.
I'm lazy when it comes to that.
Like there's certain, so y'all know me, or y'all may not have watched me for the years that we've been doing this show, but I'm always looking for these little edges. Like I'm the type of person where if they say something costs. If I'm assuming something costs like $8, they charge me $8.01. I'm mad about that penny. Like, nah, you said $8. Like those little small things, I'm still looking at real closely. So, kickers the same thing, right? I'm looking at these edges for kickers. So don't ignore these ancillary pieces because a lot of your league mates are, and that's how you can kind of build the edge. But with specifically FFPC, and I know everybody has some type of home league, right? Or they've played home league, and you know, typically with home leagues. With your defense, the more opponent scores against your defense, the more your points go down. And if it can even go down to the point where you start to get to negative points. Right. You know, if you get just getting blasted, right, or curb stomped. FFPC though,
very friendly to defense.
Very friendly because it only matters if the offense scores 10 points or higher.
Because it never goes negative, right? Like
never goes negative. So once they score 10 points or higher, it becomes flat. So they can score 80 points or 11 points, and it's gonna give you the same out point or point, whatever the term is, right?
Point allocation of it.
Point allocation. So then it's like, okay, so if I'm not so much looking at the offense scoring a lot of points versus my defense, the value is really more so looking at the defenses that are gonna give you those sacks, those INTs, you know, those safeties, if you have a team that can get safeties. But those are where the value in FFPC comes with these defenses.
And that's why I think New England was probably that #1 defense, because it's not like, you know, teams weren't scoring on them. But those touchdowns.
Exactly. So that's what actually separates certain defenses from other defenses. So the reason I'm making this point is we might look at defense, or some people might look at defense and say, oh, they have this cake matchup. This team they're playing against is not going to score a lot of points. Yeah, I mean, that's cool, but is the defense going to sack the quarterback a lot? Are they going to commit turnovers? Because if they're not doing that, then there's really not much value in that defense.
You want an aggressive defense.
Yes,
it's kind of like aggressive defense. It's kind of like if you play IDP. Like sometimes you want linebackers on bad teams because they're gonna get a lot of tackles. You know? So.
All right.
Right. So no, I'm not finished.
Go.
I'm not finished. So look at that. No, because
I'm gonna sit back this segment.
No. I'm almost finished. But the point I'm trying to make is, so when you're looking at these defenses, look for the defense that have the star edge rushers. Like your TJ Watts. Your Aaron Donald, or not Aaron Donalds, but you know, your Von Millers if he's healthy. Teams like that, because even if the defense is just trash, at least you know they're gonna get those sacks. Look for defenses that have those DBs that take those risks. Travion Diggs, Marcus Peters, players like that, because that's going to be the thing that actually gives you the value in your defense.
Not a Sauce Gardner.
Not a Sauce Gardner.
He plays cornerback the right way.
Like he be deflecting passes. We don't want deflection. We need to take it out. And then my last point with defenses, once you get near the end of the season, start trying to hoard defenses on your team. Especially on top with FFPC.
I know.
Start trying to hoard defense. Look at the matchups because there's going to be a point in FFPC where you can no longer make waiver claims.
Right.
So then whatever team you have is the team you got to ride out with. And if you're diligent, you can kind of forecast. Okay, these defenses are going to be good. And one thing I've noticed when I'm playing in these leagues is most other league mates are not doing this.
Yeah.
So you can get these defenses for like $1.
Yeah.
And they just sit it right there for you. And then you hold them for like 2 weeks, and then that week comes, and everybody on all these websites or on Twitter is like, hey, this is the defensive stream this week. And they're just sitting on your bench right there chilling. And everybody else are trying to get in their other leagues for like, all this fab money.
Yeah.
So, again, just do your due diligence. This is just a little edge and we can have a kicker episode one day too. There's a little edge that I feel like people just ignore that can really just kind of help you cheat a little bit.
I rely on you specifically for these defenses and kicker ad drop.
Yeah, they work though.
Specifically the kickers. Shout out to Linda, by the way.
I ain't seen nothing with Linda lately.
Me
You gotta
either.
check her out.
All right, guys, that's our episode this week.
That's it?
No,
That's it, man. That's it.
No, we have something else.
No.
Okay, then we got more to talk about.
What's up? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about these dynasty guys.
All right.
And you alluded to your guy for a second. I was hoping you would speak more about him, but you didn't.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to speak about these guys because now that we've had these cuts, now the picture is becoming a lot more clear.
We should add that to fifth quarter, but go ahead.
Yeah, y'all check fifth quarter out, man.
Yeah.
How do I do